Okay guys, you're all in for a treat. We've got a special truck that just came in. We're gonna do a full build on this thing. Just wait and what you see what the end result is. But it just rolled off the transport. We gave it a quick bath. I haven't even driven it yet. Follow along with me as we do it on its first test drive. I'm Joe Gocher, Alliance Auto Care, Loveland, Colorado. We specialize in G-Wagons. Follow along. So this truck was a special request by a client who asked us to source a 13 through 15 G550 for him and then commence on a full build. This truck ultimately is going to be riding on 35-inch tires. It's going to get a 4-inch lift, full winch bumper up front, spare tire off-road bumper in the back. It's going to get our running boards, onboard air, some lights, all the goodies. It literally just rolled off the truck. Looking around it right now, I'm going to go through the full inspection with you guys so you can see what I look for when we just get a truck. Now, one of the interesting things about this truck is it only has 30,000 miles on it. That was why we bought this truck. We like the color, we like the interior. It's got a couple things that I caught right off the bat that I'm going to make a list on, but I'll walk you guys around. Right off the bat, what I noticed visually is it's missing the antenna on the roof. Looks like it got knocked off and someone tried to tape that up. So that's one of the first things I noticed right off the bat. Again, I saw this online. It wasn't a deal breaker for me. I also caught that we've got a little bit of corrosion up underneath the windshield gasket already starting. So we're actually going to pull this piece of glass out and we're going to fix that so the client never sees it or even has to worry about it. We've got some scratches in the hood and we've got a cracked grill up here. This one's actually pretty common. These grills crack all the time. People lean on them and it's a soft plastic that's pretty dismal. So those are some things cosmetically, externally that I saw. Aside from that, the paint's actually in pretty good shape. It could use a paint correction. It's got some water spots on it from sprinklers. But overall, if that's all we're dealing with externally, I'm okay with that. Looking around the rest of it, it is pretty darn clean. I've already opened up the doors and peeked in here, so there's not a whole lot to see. It is a light color interior, but we always want to take a good look at the door seals as we go along, and I'll show you on the other side. But the first thing I always do is you open up the back door and you pull this. Here's a moment of truth. I haven't done this yet. It's clean. This almost never happens. We have one with no rust on the tailgate. So that's a win. That's good. I'm not going to get too specific with this because we are going to take all this back out again when we detail it and clean everything and we put on a protectant coating. But overall, the other things I noticed are the inside. The headliner is clean. It's got a couple scuffs from where they put something in it, but I don't have any watermarks around the sunroof. I don't have any signs that there's been any water intrusion back here, so happy with that overall. This truck did come from out of state, and the wheels look good. Too bad they're coming off. It's got these crappy Toyo tires on there that are dry rotted and checked. A lot of people put these tires on these trucks. I will say they handle like absolute garbage. So if you're thinking about going this route, don't. They're terrible. Anyway, moving on. Door seals. If you're looking at one of these trucks, we always look at the door seals because they are important and they do contribute a lot of road noise if they're crushed or not installed properly. This one is pretty squished down up around the top side. It looks like the doors have never been opened. It also looks like no one's ever really ridden in the back seat, which is kind of cool. So it's one of those things we can probably pull these off, freshen them up. Because the door seals in the back are just one giant loop, you can usually flip them around and bring them back to life. So not a big deal there. But I don't see any indication that anything is amiss. Overall first impressions are pretty good. Let's go for a drive, shall we? But I noticed something, this front seat cushion. I'm not sure what happened here, but this cushion is pretty much destroyed. For a 30,000 mile truck, that means it's either a big dude that was driving this before or something happened. So I'm gonna guess it's a big dude. Again, before it goes to the client, we're gonna get a new cushion on this and get this fixed, but we wanna make sure it's perfect. It's a 30,000 mile truck, there's no excuse for that. So we're gonna pick this thing apart and go through it and see what we find. Haven't driven it yet, first test drive. First thing I notice, no check engine lights, no airbag lights. It looks good, let's do it. It's not every day you find a truck with only that many miles on it. It's a 2015 model, it's pretty rare. Initial test drive, we're gonna make sure everything works on the inside. It's 80 degrees out, so the AC's gotta work. And we have cooled seats, so that part's kinda cool. definitely a nice seat to have. Now, one of the things I noticed, and I already mentioned this, is the driver's seat base is pretty messed up, but also the controls for the pneumatic seats are not working. Not the end of the world, doesn't mean anything's wrong here. It's probably something to do with the fuse or the pump, or it's got a fault in it and it just shut itself off. So we're gonna play with that here in a little bit. But aside from that, the AC's blowing cold, everything else works good. Oh, let's do the moment of truth. These are always the bane of our existence. So far, so good. That sounds good. Let me make sure it's shut right. And it's flush. Let's go up with it. Okay. Needs a little adjustment. We'll square that away. Add that to the list. You may be asking yourself, how do you keep track of all these faults that you find as you go through your test drives? Well, it's simple. I videotape my test drives. Okay, so fortunately, I've got just under quarter tank, which is on par for every vehicle we get into the shop here, so I'll have to put gas in it. Let's see. It's a good sign. Turn signals work. Steering wheel is a little crooked right now. We're going to see how, we're going to take up the highway speeds right off the bat and see what happens. It's a very comfortable place to be. The seat does work great. All the controls function. The cooled portion of the seat is nice and handy. But man, the price is right and 30,000 miles on the clock. It's tough to beat. And it's a cool color. Very rarely do we see these blue colors. I say that, but about a month ago we had one of these through the shop too. So this is literally its identical twin. I think it even had the same wood trim pattern. So far we've had two. I don't know how many are out there in the world, but here we go. The other one, we actually did a stock height upgrade. It had blacked out wheels and it was really super sharp. That cat actually lives local here to Colorado. This one's gonna go out of the States, so we had to make sure that everything is right and tight on this thing. Transmission shifts good. One of the things I like to do on my test drives once I get up to temp is not only run it through the gears, but I tend to do a full throttle mash and make sure that the transmission doesn't hang on any shifts. We don't have any flares, we don't have anything weird going on there. I also will do a few kind of weird driving scenarios, like you're going through traffic, just to kind of confuse it and see if it acts up. The good thing is on these is we have the ability to reset all the adaptations, and we can program the shift points to a certain degree. We can make it a little bit more aggressive or make it a little bit more died down if we need to. And so far everything feels right on point. I am also going to run through the full service history on this and see, has it been maintained accordingly per its mileage, and is there anything it needs to be caught up on? That's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to do while we got it. So right off the bat, we're going about 70 miles an hour. I did note that we've got a little shimmy in the wheel, about 60 miles an hour. It seems to smooth out as we get up there. Part of that's due to the tires. I mentioned that before. The Toyo Proxes that are on this truck, it's a street-only tire, and we had another truck in last week with the same tire. And the thing I noticed is their traction is pretty poor when you're dealing with a truck that's this heavy and not much sidewall. It just doesn't offer much footprint, and you got a lot of squealing. You get some funky vibration issues, and they tend to turn square if you let them sit for a while. So while yes, they do look cool, there's other options out there. Toyo makes a great tire. I'm not going to bash them one way or the other, but there's different tires and different price brackets for the vehicle that you're working on that you want to keep in mind if you do want to run wheels like this. On this particular truck, we're getting rid of these wheels. We are actually going with an 18-inch. We're going to go with the 463 Industries beadlocks wheels. Those are fantastic wheels. We put a set on Adam's truck, and they just work really well. Plus they balance nicely. So the lane departure assist does work. It's one of those things as you go next to somebody, this side does not work. So good to know. We'll fix that. There's a sensor in the back bumper that picks up on all that. On this particular truck though, because we're going to change the back bumper to an AFN style with a spare tire carrier, we will have to program those out of the equation so it doesn't throw any warnings. We just have a different way to go about it after that. But overall, it feels pretty good. Brakes feel pretty solid. doesn't shimmy when you hit the brakes down from speed. I'm glad the windshield isn't broken because it is a heated windshield and they are expensive. But we do have to pull the glass out anyway to fix the goober on the windshield frame. And because we're going to fix that, we're going to go ahead and upgrade it with our weep holes that we put in all of our G-Wagen windshield frame repairs. So make sure there's no traffic. Okay, full throttle. Does quite nicely. We are not speeding. Anyway, that feels about as factory fresh as it gets. Aside from the shimmy in the wheel and the slight pull due to alignment, it's all fixable. Now, on this particular vehicle, I am kind of picking apart the vibrations and alignment and all that stuff, knowing very well that we're going to completely gut the underside of this truck suspension-wise. What that means is, because we're going with the 4-inch suspension lift, it's going to get new front control arms. It's going to get, with a caster offset of 5 degrees, new springs, new shocks. We're actually going to go with the G-Wagen overlanding 4-inch lift springs. We're going to go with the King 2.5-inch dampers with the remote reservoirs and the adjusters. Kind of the Gucci setup from that perspective. All the brake lines, diff lock lines, they're going to be extended 4 inches and braided stainless steel. If the front pads are, or I think they are, they feel kind of squishy, we're going to go ahead and upgrade the EBC yellows, largely because it's a lot of wheel and tire to stop. You want to have the braking performance. So EBC yellows all the way around. We're also going to have to do the transmission drop bracket. We're going to have to do double carbon drive shafts front and rear, and missing one here, sway bar drop links. And that will basically comprise the 4-inch suspension lift to make this truck completely livable, daily drivable, no quirks, nothing weird going down the road, and you can wheel it off road and hang with 99% of the other trucks out there, but you're in a G-Wagen, not a Jeep, not a Toyota, not anything else, it's something freaking cool. So that's the beauty of it, is when you do build one of these up and you do it right, you don't have to compromise. You don't have to give up on comfort and creature comforts and livability. It's one of those things you can take it from the trail and take it out to dinner, and it's what it's meant for. That's why I love these trucks. They are hand-built perfection, and we just make them better. So here's our braking test. We are kind of on groove pavement, so yeah, pretty good. Nothing really to worry about there. Can't wait to get this thing up in the air and to see what other fun adventures we have going on underneath this truck. All right, guys, here we are. We're in the shop. I have not inspected this truck, so let's see what we find. Ooh. Armor All. Ugh. So this is your public service announcement. Armor All, or Schlickum, or Snot, whatever you want to call it, this shiny material. Just do yourself a favor. If you ever have a truck like this and you work in the automotive industry or you're going to an automotive shop, do not ever go into a paint shop after you've touched stuff like this. Reason is there's silicates in there that gets in your clothes, and the moment you walk into a paint shop, some of it always comes off your clothes and gets in paint. It's the number one thing that fish eyes paint. So because we have a body shop in the other building, I had to change clothes before I go over there because of this. Thanks. Anyway, moving on. Oil looks good and clean. It's full. I always want to pop this off. It's got the clips. Set this down. Now, the easy way to check your air filters is just to pull these off like so. You can rub your fingers in there. They actually don't look that bad, but they don't look that good. Generally, if I see dust and crap falling out of it, then I definitely replace them. They look like they've probably been in there for 5,000 miles or so. I'm going to pull the history and see when they were last done. But if they haven't been done in a while, we're just going to go ahead and take care of it. It's low-hanging fruit. It's one of those things where to do it after the fact, it's pain in the butt, so we just squared away. Aside from that, it's nice that the coolant bottle is opaque on these, so we just make sure it's full. Do a quick visual, make sure there's no leaks. Grab my handy-dandy light. These motors are largely leak-free. On low mileage motors, when we see leaks on the front, it usually means that the prior technician botched the oil change and pulled the filter out and dropped it and made a whole mess. It's kind of a rookie mistake. If they leak later in life, that's where we usually see oil filter adapter leaks in coolers. Now, the other thing, only other areas we see leakage on these is the back of the valve covers. And on this side, you can reach down there pretty easily. There's not a whole lot you can see on the camera, but this one's dry. You can white glove it. And on this side, and we can see this up in the air too, and it's a little easier. Take a look, and we're pretty dry. Now, the other glorious thing is when you do have any leaks, oil leaks, it'll drip onto the exhaust and emit this really pungent smell. So it'll let you know pretty fast. I didn't smell anything, we're good. Put the cover back on. Someone's gonna correct me online saying, you did this wrong. Anyway, let's go up with it. All right, so now that we have the truck up in the air, we're gonna do a quick once over on the outside. First thing I do is this offers me a real visual look at the wheels and tires. It doesn't really matter on this case because we're not keeping any of them, but I did notice that these are actually aftermarket knockoff AMG wheels. They're not the real deal. How can you tell? This little spot right here, if they're real Mercedes wheels, will say AMG. This says, I can almost feel it. Ah, there it is, made in China, yeah. So moving over here, one of the things you want to look at is this. This is why I like to do my high-speed test drives before I put everything up on the rack. Anyway, underneath the truck, we're going to start at the front and work our way back. Always carry a light with you too. Suspension-wise, it's already clapped out. Axle-wise, this is the thing people ask me about. This is pretty normal. I don't see any problems with this. And the reason this is normal is there's actually grease inside of here, and then there's a CV shaft that spins around, and you're gonna get a little bit of scupper grease coming out of there. It's a dirty, archaic system. It's meant to always be oozing something. This has a little bit more grease coming out. It looks like it has a little bit of a green tinge on this. I don't know why, but I'm probably gonna pull this side and just get eyes on and make sure that nothing serious is going on. I'm not expecting anything to go serious, but we may have a boot that maybe opened up a little bit. And because we see the thinner viscosity coming out of there, we're just gonna wanna see. Some of the other things I noticed are your tie rod ends and your links. You've got stuff like this. This is a 10-year-old truck, but it's a low mileage truck. It means it sat for a while, and that's really what that means. So we're gonna put some new tie rods on this. This one's also torn. This one's also torn, and this one's also torn. So, again, it just sat for a while. That's just age. It happens. Plus, realistically with 35s, you want to have fresh steering stuff anyway, so it's coming off. So, no harm, no foul there. Brake lines, everything looks fine there. Suspension is pretty clapped out. Man, I don't know if you can see this. Why don't you, here, flip around with me. One of the things that you can kind of see looking at this is the bump stop in relation to the axle. And the reason I'm highlighting this, and this goes into why we do so many suspension upgrades, is we only have about 2 inches in there between the bump stop and the axle. And this is the reason why we do a lot, even our factory height lift upgrades, where it makes the truck ride a little bit higher. Because right now, if we were to hit a speed bump, that axle is going to slam onto that bump stop, and it's going to feel super harsh because there's not enough travel, and it bottoms out. That's why these things feel kind of rough and rugged, but overall people get tired of it because it's exhausting. So going with the spring upgrade and the shock upgrade, it gets you a little bit extra height. Yes, it does technically raise the truck up, but it makes the truck ride so much better, and you can live with it on a daily basis. So that's one thing I emphasize is even if you have a stock truck with stock size tires, just doing that single modification alone completely transforms the way these things go down the road. Anyway, moving on from there. I don't see any leaks on the motor. I always look up. This gives you guys the opportunity to look up my nose also, so it's really cool. Here, come around this way. And what I look for is on the back of the cylinder heads up there, I want to make sure I don't see any oil leakage, any wetness. Now, granted, we got a little bit of AC condensation coming down, not a big deal because we just had the AC on. But again, the breather is dry. Everything's dry. And that part is a relief. Nothing looks abused. Nothing looks out of sorts. We still have the factory Cosmoline on all this. We don't have any issues there. The drive shafts are coming out of this. They're still fresh. So if somebody needs a set of good factory drive shafts with 30,000 miles on them, I'll make you a screaming deal. The exhaust system is fully intact. Now this is one where two different camps. One is people like the factory exhaust systems because they're quiet, but they hang down kind of low. Whenever you do aftermarket running boards, you have these pipes that are going to be exposed. One of the things we can do to mitigate that is cut these off and just do a little downturn here to get rid of this whole hooptiness going on. It keeps the factory exhaust. It's got a little throat to it, not a whole lot. But anyway, transfer case mounts look super solid, nothing to go there. Moving back on the truck, all this black stuff that's on there, people say, oh man, your truck is greasy. Not necessarily the case. This is actually the factory coating. And you can see it kind of dripping out here where it's like a white waxy stuff. Don't eat that, probably gross. Anyway, that's the factory cosmeway. And the reason it comes out here is because the frame gets a little warm with the muffler. That's normal, you want to leave that there. That's the rust protectant from Mercedes, believe it or not. So anyway, moving over here. Everything looks pretty good. We're actually going to mount our ARB compressor. We've mounted underneath this area here. There's a giant dead space. It's a great spot to put it, and we just don't see failures with those compressors, so that's why we do it. Here, switch with me. Moving around the back side of the truck, I look at the axle ends to make sure that I don't see any grease. The other thing is these backing plates are always susceptible to rust and corrosion because water gets in there, and don't be afraid to grab it and move it. Just give it a little tug. It should flex a little bit, but it shouldn't come off in your hands. Not a big deal. It's in good shape. No issues. I'm really impressed by this truck. There is zero rust, zero corrosion on the body or frame, and that's the bane of our existence. But man, I do not need to address anything. We're going to give it a good pressure wash and clean with a hot seat and still protect it, but it really needs no action whatsoever from a rust corrosion preventative standpoint. It is perfect. So I like that. I like that. Anyway, so not a whole lot going on. Ooh, we need to check brakes. Looking at pad thickness, we're still on original brakes. They're pretty thin. Ugh. Let's check the fronts. And we are done on the fronts too. So it's getting new brake pads all the way around. Good thing. We're going to do EBC yellows on this, coupled with the braided stainless brake lines and fresh high temp .4. It's going to stop a whole heck of a lot better. Now, a few of you keen-eye viewers are going to say, why didn't you shake down each wheel? Well, because we're going to pull apart the front axle anyway to look at that, and we're going to get rid of all the suspension stuff, so it's sort of a moot point. However, if you are looking at a truck and you have the opportunity to put it up in the air and actually get the wheels to hang, that's great. What you want to do is put it up in the air and grab each wheel and go back and forward with it and back and forth this way. I guarantee we've got some play here, some play here, some play here, and some play here. So again, knowing that I'm already going to replace all these when I see this, those are going in the garbage, we're going to get new ones. I don't have to shake it down because it's all coming off anyway. So, but don't be afraid to shake it up and down. If you've got any up and down movements, it's either going to be wheel bearings that need to be retorqued and repacked or kingpin bearings, but it's pretty rare on these. So anyway, I hope this helps you. This is what we typically look for underside the truck. I give this one, I'm very, very happy with this truck. I don't have any major issues. I don't have any major qualms. This is a wonderful platform to start with. This is about as good as we're ever going to get. And man, it really doesn't need much. All right, so that concludes our look over of this truck. Ooh. One other thing, as you shut the hood, a lot of you notice there's going to be play in the hood, and the hood's kind of dance around the wind. All of them do that. It's just an adjustment under there. We look for that. Now that we're in this light, we can see a little bit more clearly that there's different scratches. Nothing really looks out of sorts on the fenders. We're going to fix that with some paint correction. The hood is going to get a reshoot. We are going to pull the glass and take care of this. We're also going to add the weep holes. We've got a little spot there. It's starting to form. We are also going to take care of the missing antenna thing up there. I almost call it something else, but we're going to take care of that. That's missing. But overall, the rest of the truck looks really solid. We don't have any pits, corrosion, rust that's forming. We don't have any areas where it's been really neglected, aside from, looks like just a sprinkler hit it. And we've got some water spots. That's dirt. The spare tire is coming off of there anyway. Also, one of the things we look for is look at the hinges. On our last truck we had through here, we actually had to reshoot all of the hinges because it looked like they got hit with road salt and debris and completely wore the paint off. So these are still 100% intact. We got a little bit of a dinger right there. We're going to PDR that one out. Man, overall, this is a great, great truck. So, to close this video out and to let you know why we did this, this is what happens when somebody calls us and says, I want this truck. My ultimate goal is with a 4-inch lift. I want it to look like this. I want it to sound like this. I want it to behave like this, and I want it complete and delivered to my doorstep. Perfect. That's where we play. We basically talk you through what we're looking at dollars and cents wise for your ideal truck. We set a budget for that, and we give you some options to find it. Once you're in agreement with which one you want, we pull it in and we go from there. We also get you pricing on the full build before we even start the process, so you know exactly what you're getting into before we so much as spend a single cent. We know exactly how much the bill is going to cost at the end. We know how much the truck is going to be. And we handle everything from the initial acquisition of the truck. We get the truck transported in here, we do the full inspection. We're going to make sure that the truck is perfect before it goes to you, and we're going to execute the lift and all the modifications to your specifications. So ultimately, when the client gets their truck, it is everything that they had imagined in their dream, and they don't have to worry about anything else. They can just put the key in and go have fun. So anyway, if it's something you're interested in, definitely get in touch. I'm Joe Gocher, Alliance Auto Care, Loveland, Colorado. Hit like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.